Thank you. Good morning and welcome to this meeting of the Housing Management and Almshouses Subcommittee. My name is Kalila Perry, the clerk for the subcommittee. Please note that the public element of this meeting is being live streamed and those participating in the meeting have given consent to their inclusion. The recording of the public section of this meeting shall be uploaded to the City Corporation's website for up to 1 civic year. Chairman?
Thank you, Town Clerk. This is Kalila's first meeting in charge, so we'll all be kind to her, I'm sure, and welcome to anybody who's listening online. Okay, Town Clerk. Apologies. Yes, what apologies have we had?
So we've had apologies from Sarah Gillison. Are there any others I should be aware of?
So Edward Lord sends his apologies. He's in the Honourable of the Irish Society.
Sorry, because I haven't got the chair's mic here. I have to keep turning on and off, so do shout at me if I haven't turned my mic on. Also, Helen Fenterman may be joining us online, but many of you will know she's recovering from a bad back, so she may or may not be with us. Thank you. Town Clerk.
Item 2, we have members' declarations under the Code of Conduct and respective items on the agenda. I'm not aware of any declarations unless any member would like to do so now.
No, can't see any. Okay, thank you. Town Clerk.
Thank you. At item 3, we have the minutes. So firstly, at item 3A, we have the minutes from the Tuesday, the 21st of October, 2025. These are on pages 2 to 10 of your supplementary agenda packs, and they are to agree.
Okay, now we have had apologies, as people will know. These are very late in arriving. Polly stood in right at the last minute to do our minutes in October, so I know they've only just got to you. But has anybody got any questions? No, you happy to agree them? Yeah, okay, thank you, Town Clerk.
Thank you. At item 3B, we have the minutes from Wednesday, 26th of November, 2025. These are pages 7 to 16 of your agenda pack, and they are to agree.
People happy to agree those? Yeah, thank you, Town Clerk.
Thank you. At item 4 is the outstanding action tracker for information. This is at pages 11 to 14 of your supplementary agenda pack.
Okay, and this arrived at you late, but hopefully is now up to date with the various minutes from previous meetings. Anybody got any questions or comments on this? People happy to agree it? Looks like you are. Thank you, Town Clerk.
Thank you. At item 5 is the antisocial behaviour policy review. This is for decision at pages 17 to 38 of your agenda.
Okay, I think Helen's going to introduce this. Are you going to introduce this? Sorry, looking at you. Yeah,
yes. So to recap, at the last committee, it was requested that the policy with the track changes was updated and brought back to committee because it was felt there wasn't sufficient oversight of the changes being requested. So you'll find that that is now contained in the pages here, going up to and including page 37 of the pack, non-public.
Okay, thanks, Helen. Any questions or comments on this? Sandra.
Just one question. On page 18, you say, as a social landlord, we have a clear responsibility. Does this policy actually include the leaseholders that live on the social housing estates, if I can call them that?
Yes.
A microphone, I think, Helen.
Right. Apologies. So yes, the policy covers everybody that's either living on the estates or coming onto the estates, regardless of their denomination.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Deputy Chair.
Chair. Can I just ask, on page 19, it mentions a point of contact for victims. I'm just interested to know who will take that on, if that's all right, please.
So that would be a single point of contact. So somebody who's a victim would be assigned that as part of a case management process. So it's not possible to determine who that might be at this point, but it would be relevant to the case.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Helen. I had a look at the lease as a leaseholder, to quote, and the leases are very old. So there's not a reference to ASB in the leases. So are leaseholders informed about expectations of what is acceptable behaviour living on a HRA estate?
Not specifically, but we are going to be doing some work with leaseholders in the next few months moving forward. And part of that will be re-engaging with them and in terms of expectations of living on the estates.
So that you know, I'm thinking is the handbook that's expected for tenants. So is there a handbook planned for leaseholders, or will it be the same thing, covering kind of the generic issues about how to behave and how to manage a property?
So as far as I'm aware, the leaseholder handbook has been updated or is in the process of being updated, and the tenants handbook needs to be re-reviewed based on new legislation that's come in regarding access and fire safety.
Okay, any other questions or comments on this? Are we happy to agree this? I think the other thing that we talked about over call over was the link between other boroughs' services, community safety services, etc., and our estates. And Helen, I think you're working to sort of update that with each of the boroughs.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So to put that into context, I'm currently engaged with the London Borough of Islington, planning to meet the head of community safety imminently to discuss how we can manage various issues on a partnership basis, specifically related to York Way at this stage, but more broadly moving forward. And that will obviously be then rolled out to the other host boroughs that we work with.
Okay, thanks, Helen. Everybody happy to agree this? Yeah, okay, thank you. Town Clerk.
Item 6 is the Gateway 6 reports, closure of legacy projects for decision on pages 39 to 42 of your agenda. This report seeks to authorise the approval of 2 Gateway 6 reports. So those are report 6A, which relates to Harmon Close Decent Homes, and report 6B, which relates to William Blake and Dron House door entry system. I understand discussion on these reports will be together, however, decision will be taken individually. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, yeah, Town Clerk's going to take us through the decisions to make sure we do what we need to do, but these are hopefully almost the last batch of legacy reports that we have to agree. Greg, do you want to say anything about any of them?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, so these are continue in the theme from previous committee meetings where we were presenting legacy closeout reports. These 2 projects were delivered from 2019 to 21, so several years ago, in quite challenging circumstances, as is referenced in the reports during the COVID period and post-COVID. Obviously, there were some delays that were experienced in delivery of those works and some quality management issues which were addressed at the time, but I think they provided a very useful experience in terms of learning and our future planning for the pending major works programme.
Okay, thanks, Greg. Any questions? I think, Sandra, you may have a question.
At the last meeting, we asked for the amount that came from leaseholders to be covered, and it is. Thank you very much. That's very helpful. Having read it, it would be really helpful to know how many leaseholders shared that 127,000. I think that's quite a. So in future, I mean, I'm not suggesting you go backwards for this, but in future, when you say how much leaseholders has paid, how many leaseholders have paid that money would be really helpful to contextualise it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Take some more questions.
Yes.
Oh, James, I don't think you got your mic on.
Oh, I did have, and I think someone pushed it and cut me off.
That might have been me. Not having the chair's mic, it's very
That's
difficult,
right.
but
Well,
we'll
very similar point, which is I just wondered how many properties actually the door entry system did cover. It's it was just to get a sense, but thank you. It's not a big point.
Okay. Any other member questions? No. Okay. I think Helen wants to say something, and then we're finished.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yes, just in respect of that point, William Blake House, it was 50 leaseholders, and Dron House, it was 37 leaseholders.
And
The door entry.
Total number of properties? What was the 414 was how many properties in total?
206 in total, so just under 50% were leaseholders across the 2 blocks, and I think the contribution worked out 1,365 per unit.
That's really helpful. Thank
Very
you.
helpful.
Okay, great. And I think in going forward that members would like to have that sort of unit cost per leaseholder when we do schemes in the future. Okay, thank you. Okay, so if there's no other questions, Town Clerk will just take us through what you need to agree. Town Clerk.
Thank you. So agenda item 6A, Harmon Close, is this agreed?
People have yes. People have to agree. Yes.
Yes. And agenda item 6B, William Blake and John House, is this agreed?
Agreed. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Town Clerk.
Item 7 is the Housing Major Works Programme 2026 to 2036. This is for information, pages 57 to 64. And just noting that Appendix 1 to this report is included in the non-public section under item 18. Thank you.
Okay. Greg, are you going to say a few words to start with? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I won't run into all the forensic detail of the report, but it was really for the benefit of committee to have a little bit of oversight in terms of the future planning, something I've been involved with since I joined the corporation about 15 months ago. Now that the funding certainly has been confirmed, I've been able to crystallise it now into something more concrete and tangible. So it addresses the issues of compliance, statutory obligations in terms of fire safety, decarbonisation, as well as fulfilling our planned maintenance responsibilities, gives an indication of how that will be overseen in terms of the management and monitoring of the programme, some of the risks that will be involved, obviously, in delivery of that programme, and the necessary adjustments and reorganisation of the team that's needed also to deliver that work. Happy to take any questions.
Okay. Anybody got any questions or comments? Mark.
Chairman, thank you very much. Of course, I appreciate you've been with us 15 months and that this is kind of work in progress to bring a strategic approach to what we do. So thanks, Greg. But like the chairman and others, I attended one of our sites just before Christmas, and there are residents who've been living 18 months or so with water coming into their bedroom with buckets at the end of their beds. How do we ensure that their kind of immediate and short-term interest isn't lost while we, create a wonderful strategy which will effectively improve the way we engage with them, but not tomorrow? Thanks, Ray.
Okay, let's see if there's any more questions and then we'll get them to come back. Sandra.
Just one point, under risk implications on page 63, there isn't, I would have imagined with a big programme like this, there is a risk of cost overrun, which isn't mentioned in the list.
Okay, any other points? That's Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Can I just confirm if the stock condition survey that was done in 2018, would that have included leaseholders as well as tenants, or would it just have been tenants? Do you know?
Okay, so perhaps you could respond to those three questions.
Sorry.
So respond to those three questions and then see if there's anything more that people want to ask.
No problem. Thank you. So in terms of the question regarding interim measures or what we need to do to mitigate some of the discomfort that residents are currently experiencing, Major Works needs to work very closely with our repairs and maintenance team in respect of both the short and long-term strategy for resolving repairs and long-term Major Works issues. So it's important that the repairs and maintenance team understand what the long-term planning is so they can actually factor in any urgent or immediate work that needs to be undertaken. For example, if we've got a pipeline project that's only 12 months away from delivery, would it justify major repair work being undertaken to a particular block, or is there a smaller short-term measure that kind of is more effective? Similarly, if we've got work that's not down the pipeline for 5 or 6 years, perhaps we have to consider in those instances more major repairs. So it will be a question of major works and repairs and maintenance team working very closely together so they can understand what our long-term strategy is. In terms of the cost overrun, that's certainly a valid point, because I think it's a well-known fact in delivery of refurbishment work in social housing. It's always a huge challenge managing cost and particularly variations. Whenever you're dealing with refurbishment works, even with the best planning and specification, there are always unforeseen items that crop up when you start pulling apart buildings. So that's certainly something that we will factor in. How we will manage and mitigate that is through the use of multidisciplinary consultants. So the team will be acting in a client-side project manager role, and the consultants whom we appoint will include cost consultancy and quantity surveying to assist us in the financial management of those projects. And then the last point was regarding tenants on stock condition survey. I don't think it would have included leaseholders. It wouldn't have included leaseholders. No, it would have only been the general needs tenanted properties.
Okay, Leila.
Thank you, Chair. Given the government's proposal to change the formula for funding City of London, is there any risk or threat to the big programme of works agreed to the housing, given that part of that funding was not completely secure? Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's probably a question. Maybe James Thompson wants to answer that question.
Well, I think that's a question for Finance Committee, to be honest. And there is a broader conversation going on around fair funding, but so I'm not sure I can necessarily comment on it here. Suffice to say that I think it would be unfortunate to be rowing back on a committed programme. Thank you.
As far as I understand, this programme is totally committed to by the leadership of the corporation. So yes, there will be issues down the line for the corporation generally, but in terms of this programme, I'm pretty sure that we are committed to getting the money required. And of course, one of the answers to the questions is there is included in the budget that we've set is quite a large optimism bias. Whether that's enough optimism bias, we'll find out in due course, but we have actually included quite a lot in that. So I think there's some other people want to ask some more questions, Anne.
Thank you very much. It's very complex. It's very hard for residents to understand the complexity because what they see is where they live and the area around where they live. So particularly around section, there's two questions related to communication, because I think communication with residents and leaseholders is key. There should be no surprises. And hopefully we have learned from the experience of Great Arthur House, and I'm not sure how many officers were around during that time, but there were lessons to be learned there about poor communication. But in terms of section 20, do you know of plans to let leaseholders know when these section 20 notices are likely to arrive? Will it, because the work you mentioned consultants, so every time you employ a new consultant for something, will there be a new section 20 notice, or will that just be one section 20 notice? So it's communication around that. Also communication with everybody, tenants and leaseholders, about what needs to be done and when it's going to be done. Because as far as residents are concerned, they would like, for example, redecoration done now. But what you're indicating is that won't necessarily be done now because there's some major work to be scheduled. So would it be possible to communicate and to have a system of communication with all residents to identify what needs to be done, what's going to be done, and when things will be done, rather than kind of constant requests from leaseholders to get things done tomorrow or yesterday?
I don't know whether, Peter, do you want to respond? Okay.
Okay, sorry. Okay.
Put your microphone on.
Sorry about Thank you. About the communications, it's a critical point, and this report is paving the way to let people know that all the work that's happening to now build it together, that we've had the funding confirmed, including the optimism bias. I think what is usual practice in programmes of this scale is to start drilling down and letting people know what can be expected, caveated of course, because there are lots of factors such as planning, something else coming down the line which may be more urgent. So we have to get people into the frame of mind working with us to understand what the challenges might be, but giving them an outline of what the work is that's proposed for their particular homes. So we've already got a website which gives a list of the major works programme. What I would seek to include, once Greg has got his full complement of staff, which includes resident liaison, which will work with other consultants or in-house people on the communications piece, is to work to notify residents of what is planned with the expected caveats, and then to keep people updated at sensible timescales. And it won't be the same timescale for every project because of the time before we get there, but to give them an idea of what's planned and particularly what changes may have come up and why those changes may have come up. So we'll get into a rolling communication with people around their homes, because we know that people are interested in the whole programme, but what people are interested in mainly is what's going to happen to their homes. So what I've seen work quite effectively is giving residents an overview of the programme and then saying next year, 26-27, we're proposing to do X, Y, Z, and this is what we're thinking to include. And also that might also there might also be an element of, this is what we think we're going to do. Have we missed anything major because those residents live there? So what we will do is get into that rhythm of having an annual plan with all the caveats, and sorry, I'm being boring about that because things can change, with the normal caveats and giving people an idea of what we're proposing to do. When we get closer to the particular scheme, sitting down with residents and saying, this is the proposal, have we missed anything glaring, and then moving on from that. So that'll become part of the rhythm of the programme.
I think we talked about is for the next meeting having a people strategy issues paper, like, and so which would fit with what Greg's done in terms of the programme itself. But there's obviously a range of issues about communication. There's a range of issues about vulnerable people on the estates, so that the members next time can actually explore our strategy plan for how we're going to work with leaseholders and tenants going forward. Okay, thank you. Anything else on this paper? Okay, the other thing that I...
Oh, sorry, are you going to point out the...
We were probably doing the same thing, but maybe not. Yeah, I also asked that we were clear about what the Golden Lane Estate group is that the deputy chair's on, which I can never remember the name of because it's so long, and how being clear about the work they're doing and how what they do can be reported to this subcommittee. So we're clear that in terms of the Golden Lane Estate programme, that we've got in place a range of checks and balances and critical friends. So we know that we're working hand in glove with them. And was that what you were going to say, Peter? Was you? Yeah.
So correcting section 7.
So what's it? You okay? Yeah. So we'll have in future we'll be clear about that, and what that will mean is in terms of paragraph 7, as the director says, that we will actually, that is obviously going to be a vital group that informs this subcommittee that things are going as we need them to go. Okay, people happy with this? Happy to note this. Okay, thank you. Town clerk.
Item 8 is the quarterly fire safety status report. This is for information, pages 65 to 70 of your agenda.
Okay, Paul, do you want to introduce it?
Thank you, Chair. The report starts by answering some of the questions that the members asked last time to be added to the report around quoting relevant legislation, answers questions about training, fire safety management in contractual agreement with leaseholders, and an explanation of what a steady state would look like once achieved through the key actions in the assessments, and more information on timescales. And hopefully the answers have been provided, and thank you to the councillors who've asked additional questions, which I'll
we'll get them to ask it live.
Live, right. So I'll go through as we are. Thank you, Chair. We've got a completion rate there of 4.32% at the time of me looking at that within Q3. That's a slowing down, and that's because the combined mean average of 16.
Paul, let's let them ask their questions. Sorry, sure. I know you've got loads of them, so
yeah.
that everyone can be clear.
Happy to go through it, Chair.
Shall we do that? Shall we let them ask the questions now?
Up to you.
Let's
Chair.
do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think Sandra's got a few, and Anne's got a few.
Thank you, Chair. Shall I list all my questions, or shall we do?
Yes.
Okay. As this is a fire safety report, and fire safety is, of course, really important, I'm intrigued as to why there's no formal risk assessment which shows impact, likelihood and mitigations. How do we interpret the 4.32 completion rate? I can't tell whether that's good or bad. We still have 45 high priority actions and 646 medium priority actions. How does that compare to last time? Has there been an improvement, and what are we doing about them? And then on the Golden Lane Estate balconies, some of them are still blocked, their fire exits, secondary fire exits, of course. But after a 28-day warning, then a 14-day warning, then a visit by the health and safety officer, what next is for lack of compliance? That's my questions. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Sandra. Paul, do you want to respond to each of those?
Thank you, Councillor. The impact and likelihood of mitigations are shown overall in the fire risk assessments themselves for each block, and that is reflected in the action outcome that is in the assessment report that goes on to the assessment tracker. At the highest level, the actions, the likelihood of mitigations are shown on the DCCS risk register, and the reference for fire safety on that register is 0012, but that's a DCCS
You might have, Sandra, might not be very clear what you're saying there, Paul.
Sorry, Department of Community and Children's Services risk register for the whole of the directorate. And
but surely, as this committee is being asked to consider the quarterly fire safety status report, I would have thought that we should be able to see the high level risk assessment in order to have a discussion about it.
Have you got your microphone on? So I can't.
The high level assessments are in the fire risk assessment spreadsheet, the fire risk assessment tracker, and that's where they are shown. That shows the mitigation and the risk impact.
Let's come in here.
Yes, if I might add that at the moment we're managing this on a quite unwieldy spreadsheet. We have purchased a system called RiskBase, which will enable us to manage and monitor this much more effectively. I think actually report on this much more effectively, because actually we meet regularly to go through this. That rate of 4% is very poor, for your information. And the numbers of actions, the high risk and the medium risk actions, they are some of those are there because the remediating those actions are part of the major works programme, for example. So what we will be able to report to committee in the not too distant future, we've actually got the kit in and it's being tested and we're running through it, is that we will be able to give you the numbers of outstanding actions, but most importantly, the steps we've taken to mitigate those actions. So, for example, if we have to do a dry or wet riser, which is actually quite a complicated piece of work to do, and is part of the major works programme, what we would seek to assure you about is the steps that we've taken to make sure that we've put other measures in place, such as smoke and heat detectors, emergency lighting, and those sorts of things should an incident occur, to make sure to show you, to demonstrate to you that we are managing the risk of having items which we can't do in 60, we can't remediate in 60 days. So we're hoping to be able to present to you the whole picture. So not just the high risk, medium risk and low risk actions, but all those, also the steps that we're taking to make sure that should anything happen, we've got steps in place to manage that.
Okay, I think well, Sandra will come back, but I think obviously what we're very keen to know as members is that if you say something's high risk, that we've mitigated it.
Yes.
And I think that's that's the information we don't currently have.
Yeah.
And that's really important, obviously, for members to be assured that even if we haven't dealt with the main problem, we've done stuff to reduce it. But so if we have reduced it, is it logically it's no longer high risk?
It is, because that's what's recorded on the fire risk assessment. Yeah.
Okay. So Sandra, do you want to come back? Sorry.
Just to you've said the words that I would have used. I mean, my view is that this should be a report giving us assurance that risks are identified, given high, medium or low, and that they are actively managed. So at the moment, I don't consider it an assurance report because I'm left with all these questions, and I think we need to have a report that provides proper assurance.
Yeah. Okay, James.
Look, totally concur with that. I mean, and I know, Peter, you were saying we will get something imminent. I would perhaps just understand what the timing of that is, because I don't see how we can be managing that risk as at least at the committee level if we can't see the risks, can't see what's happening. And I'm not quite sure what was happening historically. I'm relatively new to the committee, and therefore how we had visibility at all. But this is, yeah, I feel I'm very uncomfortable without that thinking.
Yeah, no, I think Peter's taken us halfway through a journey we need to go on. So yes, I'm sure it was even worse before. But anyway, Peter.
Right, so I don't think that this was reported previously. The team that we have now have got this massive spreadsheet with all the risks. We meet, I think it's fortnightly, to go through them. We are working together, so that's a combination of housing management, because some of the risks are to do with housing management, major works and repairs and maintenance, and others, and obviously Paul is very involved in that. So what we do is we have a view of what the risks are that are identified partly from the fire risk assessments, which we carry out and we're up to date on, but that's only the beginning of the journey. It's what we do about how we record the actions that need to be dealt with coming from the fire risk assessments, and how we assure ourselves that if, as the example I gave before, it's something we can't do in 60 days, we have other measures in place to actually manage that risk. And so we were thinking of bringing that to the next committee, because our ability to manage that process should be easier to extract information. But I'm very happy to produce an interim report and share it with members ahead of the next committee, once we've got that ability to do that quite smoothly, or failing that, give you an extract of the work that we're doing to evidence, to assure ourselves that we are managing the risk of what's coming out of the fire risk assessments.
Okay, thanks. James, do you want to come back?
Just briefly, look, I don't want to create extra work, because I'm very conscious an awful lot of work is happening. I think what I would ask is if you are carrying any significant risks that this committee should be aware of, I think we should be made aware of those in a very timely fashion. So it sounds like you've got visibility through the spreadsheet, and I would have probably in an ideal world at least liked in here, you know, if there are 3, 4, 5 really key risks, that we would have had visibility of that. And I think if there are those risks, can we be made aware? And then I think it sounds like for the next committee, we'll have a slightly more detailed report that sort of does what we need. But I think if there are key risks, we must be aware of those. Thank you.
Yeah, that seems like a good way forward. Mark, did you want to?
Thank you, Chairman. And again, I'm a bit of an ingenue on this committee, but this is a question about stay put, and it's really how we establish whether that remains appropriate for residents in a particular site. I assume we liaise with the London Fire Brigade and we get some form of confirmation, but then also how do we communicate that with residents? I also assume it doesn't change 9 times out of 10, but if it does change, what action do we take and on what timeline? Thank you.
Paul, do you want to come back on that?
Yeah, certainly. Thank you for that question. If the stay put policy in a particular block does change to, for example, simultaneous evacuation or to a staged evacuation, that would be communicated to all of the residents and to the London Fire Brigade at that situation, if that situation arose. And we're constantly monitoring that. That's monitored through where there's requirement for what we call type 3, type 4 fire risk assessments, which are intrusive. And that's how we would monitor that. And the programme for that will be rolled out through resident engagement, through the comms teams, and through the members as well. Would be
okay. Mark wants to come back on that.
Thank you, but it's for us to decide, or do we need London Fire Brigade to confirm a recommendation in terms of the if it changes or not?
Yeah, thank you. It can be both directions. It can be through the London Fire Brigade as the enforcement body, or it can be us through findings, at which stage we would declare that to the London Fire Brigade as a change for their tactical information plan.
Okay, Deputy Chair.
Thank you, Chair. I just out of interest, so I'm a City of London tenant and I've lived in 2 different blocks. I've never been made aware of what the fire evacuation situation is in either of the properties that I've lived in. So I can imagine there's probably a number of other residents who are the same. So I'm just wondering, when obviously you talk about communication with residents, how is it done? When do we do it? Should we be doing it on a yearly basis and reminding people? Because I mean, people obviously, where a lot of them are rented out as well privately, if they're leaseholders, they get different tenants coming in and out constantly. So I can imagine a lot of people actually have no idea what the situation is. So I think it's something that we should be trying to make contact if it's not already in the plan, if we can try and do that going forward, just to remind people. If that's all right,
Seems
please.
very sensible that we should, on an annual basis, remind our tenants and leaseholders what the plan is for each block. Yeah, that's cool.
Certainly in certain blocks, that's about to become a regulatory requirement in the high-rise residential buildings. That's to notify them annually.
Okay, well, we better just make sure that we're actually meeting those requirements then, I think. John, can someone can you do your mic?
I brought it close to myself today. This is a very interesting topic, this stay put or make people aware of the policy. I attend regularly almost all of the Residents Association meetings on Middlesex Street, and as everybody knows, I know them very well. Almost everybody on Middlesex Street knows the policy. How many people will obey that policy is a completely different matter altogether. It's not just a matter of informing them. If we want people to stay put, we have to explain to them the benefits, why they should stay put, why they shouldn't go. Because after Grenfell, there is I'm not saying the general feeling, but there is a substantial feeling among residents that their best option is to get the hell out of there as fast as they can. This has been exacerbated by the, how can I put it politely, the difficulties over installing a sprinkler system in the Middlesex Street Tower. So yes, this is a very important thing, but it's not just a case of informing. I would say it's a case of educating and advising as well.
Okay, thanks, John.
Thank you, Chairman.
I think I've got to let Anne speak next, so I'm going to be in big trouble.
Thank you. Just to concur with Sandra, I mean, basically, in this committee, we want assurance that we're not going to be sitting talking about a major disaster or a death. Because I think, like safeguarding around fire, we should have the mindset that it could happen here and it could happen in one of our blocks. That's really what we want the assurance of. I mean, I've gone through the risk assessments, the list which is on the public website for every block. You know, they're woefully out of date and with gaps. There should be a named person on every fire risk assessment. Some of the named people have left the service and there are gaps. So I appreciate it's a lot of work to be done, but we just want assurance that if a resident identifies a fire risk at or near their flat, it will be attended to immediately rather than waiting for a member of one department to speak to a member of another department. So it's just that assurance that we are what is our, I know it's really hard, you can't average risks, you can't give us an average risk. I appreciate that because every building's different, but it would be good to have some assurance overall as to, you know, where the major risks are. Can I just ask, when are the what is the time scale for all the high rise buildings to be brought up to standard? And is it possible to have sight of the Petticoat Tower acceptable yardstick, which you mentioned in the report? And has Petticoat Tower been approved? Because that sounds as if you're using that as the base for the template.
Did you want to say something about this?
Right. So if I start from the end and then Paul can fill in. The Petticoat Tower, it's been, we put it forward as Petticoat Tower and they want to link the whole estate, and this has come from the building safety regulator. So where they agreed to having it separate at the beginning, but this is the way that this process is working. We've only been asked, we've had only one building safety case called in so far, and that's Middlesex Petticoat Tower. We submitted Petticoat Tower and then they asked us to add the other part of the estate, So we're adding that to the building safety case. They've also asked for more structural survey information. We did what lots of other organisations have done, got a statement of structural stability, and they've come back and asked us to do something more developed. And so we're in the process of doing that now. We've commissioned that now. These building safety cases are work in progress, not just for us, but for other landlords as well. So at the moment, we do not have a final template for building safety case because we're still working with the building safety regulator to pin down the one for Middlesex Street.
Okay, thanks, Peter. Did you want to come back, Anne?
Yeah. So that's not an acceptable yardstick at the moment. It's work in progress.
It's work in progress.
Thank you.
Is there any other questions on this item? I mean, it's quite clear that we're going to need another report at the next meeting covering lots of the questions that members have asked, but people happy to, on that basis, carry on? Sandra, no, you wanted a...
Sorry, I had a...
Yeah, your third question probably hasn't been answered.
No, I had a supplementary question. Now I've learnt that 4.32% is poor. So what are we doing about it? And then we've got 45 high priority actions, and we don't know when they're going to be remedied and what they are. And then there's the issue of the Golden Lane Estate balconies being blocked.
Okay, I think the high priority ones, we've actually talked about that, and we're going to get something back from the director at the next meeting. And if she thinks there's high ones that we really need to know about before the next meeting, she'll send us members a note. But yes, the one I thought that hadn't been answered is if you get a report from somebody saying there's a fire risk, you know, are our response times and the actions we take in officers' views, are they quick enough? Do we need to change how we deal with that? Helen, you're going to ask this one.
So I'm going to give part of the answer.
Okay.
Just to Paul's thunder. So in response to the balcony clearance project, which you've mentioned, so estate services would be the first people to go out and do a visual inspection, which is what happened in this particular instance on Golden Lane Estate. So following that, the team came together and came up with a plan, and then as you identified, wrote an initial letter. We did door knocking, so I believe Paul and estate services and resident services officers went out and did door knocking to engage with people and explain the process. Moving forward, to fast forward the process to where we are right now, is that we're now having a meeting with legal to progress enforcement action for those residents who have either refused to engage or we've had no traction with, bearing in mind that we are also looking at any vulnerabilities and we are also looking at any elements of hoarding that might be present and working with adult social care and the hoarding team at the City of London.
Thank you. That's exactly what I wanted to know.
Yeah. Please could we write to residents who have raised concerns about this to explain what the course of action is? I don't think that should come from elected members. I think that should come from officer, and I'll happily pass on the details.
Yeah, I think Philip.
Sorry, just in your door knocking exercise, how much engagement have you actually had? I mean, I realise some people obviously haven't engaged at all, but have you had a 50% success rate or 20%? And what sort of percentages of engagement have you actually seen, please?
I can't tell you the specific percentages. Paul might be better able to answer that, but I don't think there's very many residents at all now who we need to work with. Paul, may I ask you to?
Yeah, it's got better as we've gone along. I have got the percentages not to hand. I have got them. It was the 22nd of December, so a lot of people had gone away for Christmas and things and what have you. Yeah, there's a detail of progress that we can give the committee if necessary.
Maybe that could be just shared outside
this
meeting by email. That'd be really helpful. Thank you.
Sorry, I don't want to drag this on. Just in terms of, I'm just a bit concerned that if we issue a legal letter to people who are extremely vulnerable, that this might make their situation worse. and any chance of them wanting to try and engage worse as well. So I'm just intrigued. This doesn't have to be answered now, but if we could get an idea from whether it's the adult social care team about what's been done to support those people prior to sort of going in heavy-handed and issuing any kind of legal document. It'd be good to know if we can just maybe get an update outside of committee. That'd be good, please.
I think we're all very, hopefully we'll all be very clear that what we'd expect is if somebody is a hoarder or has got any other vulnerability, that we are working with our colleagues in adult social care to find a way forward without issuing a legal letter. In other circumstances, maybe a legal letter is appropriate, but for those people, hopefully not. Okay, are we happy to move on then? So you've got, I think, a whole range of work emanating from this committee. And I know you've done a lot already, and there's a lot of catch-up work that you're already there. So we're looking forward to your next report of the next subcommittee. Thank you. People happy to note this report? Yeah, okay, thank you. Thank
you. Item 9 is the resident voice group update. This is for information, pages 71 to 78 of your agenda.
Sam, are you going to say a few words?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Really, it's just an update based on the paper that we brought to the last committee with a bit about progress so far on the subjects that we discussed at the last meeting, which is in the current position update on the document, and also a copy of the minutes and actions from the previous meeting. I'm happy to take any questions.
Okay, well, I think Sandra has given notice of one.
Thank you. This is just a question about the resident contributors are anonymised in the paper, and I just wondered why, because surely other residents would want to know who they are.
Yes, thank you. So we will be introducing the resident voice group members to both residents and members, wider residents that is, but we need to agree that as an approach for that with the group first. So we've only just elected our resident co-chair, and so they will be co-chairing their first meeting with Peter in early February, and at that meeting we'll discuss a kind of communications and introduction plan for the residents that are on the group, so that yes, residents are aware of it.
Anne.
Thanks, Sam. I should know this. Is the lead member for residents involved in this?
We have been talking to Jackie Webster about it. Yes, she's not involved in it. There's no members on the group, but she's aware of the group. That makes sense.
Deputy Chair.
Thank you. I mentioned this in call over yesterday, so I just wanted to sort of bring it here. I just wanted to confirm that this group is not just going to be a tick box exercise. So I think it'd be good to, if we can kind of find a way to just update not just members here in the committee, but residents as to what's going on with the group and the progress that you're making, whether it's done kind of, every 6 months or annually, just because I want it to be obvious that actually this isn't just being done sort of as a, okay, yeah, we have engaged with people. It's actually you're listening to residents, they're having an active role, and there's actually progress, and you can see where stuff's moving forward because of the work that you're doing, if that'd be good. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Part of our communications plan that we'll be discussing will be not only just introducing who's on the group to residents, but also what they've been up to, what work they've done, what's outstanding, what they're happy with, what they're not happy with. And we're planning to do that through probably the at-home magazines, but I'm talking with our communications officer about how we do that. But yes, part of the plan is they'll be updating on successes and otherwise, as well as who they are.
Peter, do you want to add to that?
Yes, it's early days because the next meeting, as Sam has said, is next week. So what they've been doing, as you can see from the minutes, is gathering information, meeting team members, delving into various areas, finding out where we are at. You'll be unsurprised to know that they had Bev and Subhash from the repairs and maintenance team at the last meeting talking about the mid-year review for Chigwell and repairs matters. Once they've got their feet under the table and it's better developed, the usual steps for groups such as these is to look at a a series of scrutiny exercises which they select themselves and select an area that they want to look at plans, get themselves involved in those plans and make recommendations, and then that would all form part of the way that we develop our working practices, operational and policy. But we're really at the start of this process.
Okay, thanks. People happy to note this report? Mark.
Thank you, Chairman. Again, apology, I'm quite new to this. The residents, are they drawn from all of our estates across London? I'm assuming so. Why did we choose 7 as a number?
We've had this debate at the last meeting, but no apologies for you asking it again. Peter, do you want to? Oh, Sam's going to.
Yeah, they are drawn from across all our estates. It's not a representative role, so it's not like we have one from every estate, but there's a geographic spread. Why we have 7 is Helen and I conducted an application exercise and reviewed applications, and what we were aiming for was a balance between tenants and leaseholders that roughly reflected our sort of makeup, and we had 7 applications that we thought were really very strong that balanced that. So that's why we had 7. There's actually space for up to 9, but because the applications were so strong for that 7, we went with 7.
Later.
Thank you, Chair. Would it be intrusive for members to watch one of these meetings, 1 or 2 of them? Thank you.
I'm very happy to put it to the group. I think a key thing just to remind members is it's a resident-led scrutiny group. So I'm happy to say that you've requested that and see what they say.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is a journey we're on, and I think there's a whole range of things that might be useful going forward, including that, but also including them presenting to subcommittee at some point. So we will keep seeing how you move down that road. But I think people are keen to, if the residents agree, are keen to know who these residents are.
Yeah, and we've already discussed the co-chair coming here
good.
as an option as well.
Good.
So,
okay, thanks. Okay, members happy to agree this? Okay, thank you. Town Clerk.
Item 10 is the allocated members report for Middlesex Street. This is for information, pages 79 to 90 of your agenda.
John.
Yes, I would like to say a couple of things, thanks, Chairman. First of all, yet again, I feel like the Lone Ranger. The only allocated members report yet again. I just make that as an observation. The next thing I'd like to say is thank you to the Residents Association, particularly Roger Way, the chair, and Ian Hartold, the secretary, and to Greg and to Peter, who have gone a long way to make this report what it is. It is work going on, and as people can see if they follow it every quarter or so, we are gradually making progress. Rome wasn't built in a day, but a lot of these legacy issues are now being dealt with, and a lot of the main issues are being dealt with. So I think it's very useful, and I'd like to thank the people that have been involved in making it. There are 2 other points I'd like to make outside this. The first one comes down to the new heating system, which is now in and working. Unfortunately, a couple of weeks ago, right in the middle of the cold snap, some of the flats could not be heated to temperature. The things go wrong, and I don't judge situations by going wrong, because things always go wrong. It's how quickly they are resolved. And I'm happy to say, Peter, Greg, that it was resolved very quickly. However, I think I'd like people to note that confidence by residents in the system is still very fragile. So if we could all be aware that if people say heating, jump on it and let's put it to bed quickly before it gets out of hand, because it's just fragile. That's the first thing I'd like to talk about. The second one I bring up here, because I want this part of the allocated members report is to report on feelings on the estate and what residents are feeling and talking about. With the resident reset and all the other things, there has been a dramatic improvement over the last 2 years, I think, in the relations between residents and the city and officers in particular. And this is evident at Residents Association meetings. They used to be very antipathetic. I mean, really quite, not fragile, really quite strong feelings. This is now returning to where it should be, where working relationships are developing, not that people will always agree. However, there is one thing that is getting under everybody's nails and everybody's skin and really annoying. And it's part of the police move into Middlesex Street. Now, I've tried to avoid bringing that up both here and in Community and Civil Services because it is being dealt with by a subcommittee, but unfortunately, by a steering group, but unfortunately that steering group is failing, and I think members here should be made aware before this gets out of hand and residents really do set themselves against the city. This concerns who pays for the car park attendant. Now, I'll keep it very simple. Before the police moving in, there was ample room in the car park. There was no need for a car park attendant. Anybody could come in and out. From the very beginning of the negotiations, it was made clear to me and to residents on Middlesex Street that they would never have to pay for anything that was caused by the police moving in. As soon as the first plans came out, it was obvious to everybody that space in the car park would be tight, and particularly for vehicle movements during the day, deliveries, etc., and a car park attendant would be needed. When it came out in proposals, the wording was put that it would be paid for partly by residents, partly by the HRA and partly by the police, and the contribution by the residents would depend on the benefits to them, which was fair enough. But there are no benefits to them for the car park attendant during the working week. This is occurring purely and simply because the police have moved in. So if there was a car park attendant from 8 till 5 or 9 till 6 or whatever on working days, everybody, any sense of fairness would tell you that that should not sit on the resident's bill, because that is caused purely and simply by the police moving in. Now, if residents ask for the car park attendant to be extended to the evenings and weekends, then obviously that would be a new benefit, and that would be something that they should pay for, and they are willing to think about it and talk about it and vote on it. What they want is clarity that they will not be charged for that daytime car park attendant. It is brought up at every steering group meeting. At every steering group meeting, we're told we will get a resolution at the next steering group meeting. At the next steering group meeting, the same words come out, we've got to calculate the benefit to residents. And they are getting fed up, they are feeling let down, and if we're not careful and we don't resolve this quickly, it is going to destroy all the hard work we have done to re-establish relations. So I just ask members and officers to take that thought away and do what they can to get a resolution to this ASAP. Thank you, Chairman.
Thanks, John. That was very mixed message you gave there. So lots of good, positive stuff about the way that our officers are working with residents. I think the issue you've raised about the car park attendant, we need to take that out of this subcommittee, and Peter, I'll talk to Peter and Ellen Fentiman after this meeting about how we make a progress on that. You're not really a lone ranger, because there's actually some other members who I know have got lots to say about their responsibilities, and they're going to say them when we get to Peter's Housing Matters report.
Okay. I'll retract that then. No, that's fine, Chairman. I brought it up here only because we need to get this resolved, and if we can use our influence to get it resolved, then that's fine by me. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Peter, do you want to say?
Yeah, I want to add to that the other members and actually you indeed have been twinned, though you don't know with whom, with a member of the senior management team, and moving forward we're hoping to adopt a slightly different approach to this. So watch your inboxes for the information on who you've been twinned with from the senior management team, and invitation to a meeting to discuss the local authority that you've been attached to and how we can work together to bring the sort of the flavour from the member, resident and the officer view to future meetings. That's the next step.
Okay. And I think if this is going to bear what Peter just said, we can come back to that under her.
That's a question for you, Steve.
Oh dear. Go on then.
Does this committee want a detailed report from every lead member at every subcommittee meeting?
No, I think that is the point that Peter's making, that what I've asked for is that you have a linked senior officer, and then you and the linked senior officer can think of the best way of making sure that we're informed about things we need to be informed about, and that's what Peter is going to sort out.
Just making the point.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Right. Deputy Chair.
Just to follow on from that, I think it'd be good if we can just outline exactly how we're gonna, maybe if there's a brief statement from everyone at every committee that just confirms what's been going on in their estate and what the work they've been doing with their lead officer, because John's report is obviously very helpful, and myself and Anne have always done the same for Golden Lane, but we've sort of not been following that route, because I think you and Beverly both know that I've constantly emailing you about Golden Lane and everything, so it's not as if there's stuff not going on, but it'd be good for everyone who's a lead member for any of the estates to then just have an agreement that's the same for everyone of how we're then going to deliver that information.
That's what this development of having a linked senior officer is aiming to achieve. John, do you just want to come back?
Just very briefly, I'm not suggesting that every allocated member should report at every meeting. That however, it should be frequent. And again, it's going to depend on the estates. Some estates are small and only need a report every 6 months or so. Yeah. Golden Lane, Middlesex Street and Avondale probably need more frequent.
Yeah,
and it should be regular, and it should be something that the whole committee understands.
And we're going to hear quite a lot about other estates when we move on to the next item, Mike.
Great.
Okay, Town Clerk.
Thank you. Item 11 is the Housing Matters Update. This is for information, pages 91 to 100 of your agenda.
Okay, Peter.
Okay, I just wanted to, at the last meeting, members asked for an update on what we're doing about damp and mould, which we've provided here. On review, it may give the impression that we only started dealing with damp and mould once AWAB's law was announced, and I can assure you that that's not the case. What has been really interesting about the stock condition survey is that we've had a number of reports of damp and mould coming from the stock condition surveys rather than from residents directly. So, and that's one of the benefits of stock condition survey being carried out in real time, is that we are getting that intelligence as we go, and a number of the reports of damp and mould have come from that. Please be assured that that we're not blaming residents and not having access for not being able to do the work, but that is a factor, and it is a factor in lots of things. It's a factor when we're doing gas safety, etc., and other the electrical safety tests, for example, and other compliance matters. But luckily the numbers aren't massive, but it is something that's worthy of flagging up. And also the household survey, which you've been informed about, we're hoping that we will be able to confirm contact details, because contact details can change quite frequently. And one of the risks we run is actually trying to contact people and maybe not having the most up-to-date details. We can use information if people report repairs, etc. But in this case, a lot of the intelligence on damp and mould is not coming from residents directly. It's coming from the stock condition survey. So I just wanted to give you that background on damp and mould.
Yeah, shall we just see if there's any questions on damp and mould, and then we move on to our next bit. Any points people want to raise on damp and mould? Oh, okay. Thank you, Peter.
Okay, the next item we touch on is the inspection process, and we are awaiting the initial feedback from the regulator, and we're meeting them this afternoon. When I wrote this, it was supposed to be last week, but they changed the date. So we should have an indication of what the result is this afternoon, but that is subject to clarification of any points that they raise, because we have the ability to correct any errors, but that's it now, it's done. And also subject to that process, the result is announced, I think it's the last Wednesday of February. So that's very much live, and the meeting with them is this afternoon.
Okay, do you just want to clarify when members will know? Will it be when everybody else knows at the end of February, or is there a way of people knowing before then? Do you know that?
We've had some dialogue with their comms people, and they're advising us not to let people know until they've confirmed the results. because I think up until the end there is the ability to change things.
Yes, moderate it.
So yeah, there might be continual moderation. So I think it's probably better to do it just before it's actually published.
Okay. Well, I'm sure members would like to make sure, we might need to make sure that members know as soon as they're able to, but obviously not before time. Thank you. Okay.
Then on page 24 is about the housing key risk matrix, and 94, and the risk matrix is on page
95
and 96, so it follows.
Okay, is people got Sandra?
Chair, I have a query on the risk matrix, which I think needs to come up under non-public.
Okay, right. Okay. I think on call over we had a question about the risk matrix. We thought that the risk for the major works programme as unlikely was maybe a little bit optimistic given the complexity of what we are undertaking.
Yes, I think that reflects the steer of this particular risk has been about funding to date, and I think that's a carryover from that. We'll now get into delivery mode, and it will obviously not be unlikely moving forward. It will be possible because of the risks that have already been reviewed earlier on in this meeting with the addition of the keeping to budget.
Okay, so this risk was about the risk of the finance, but we haven't, what we will have at the next meeting is a risk about the implementation of the programme.
And then, sorry, in addition, there's the HRA housing finance as well, which the risk should be reviewed upwards because of current activity.
Sandra.
That was the point I wanted to raise under non-public.
Okay. Okay, people happy with that? Sorry, Deputy Chair.
Sorry, I appreciate I've missed some of the update. But just, I know we discussed just saying call over that you yourself and some of the other officers have got some positive news about Civica and some of the updates. So I just thought it might be good for everyone to hear some of the progress that's been made that's then going to improve a lot of stuff going forward.
Yeah. As you know, we've had the Civica system for some time. And we've recently started, well, not recently, it's not that recent anymore. In the last 18 months, we've started implementing it with, I think, a bit more energy. And what this has enabled us to do is for the first time have interfaces with our repairs contractors. So we've spent, since April, we've been working with Chigwell to interface the system with them so that we can get real-time information from their system on jobs, etc., which should help us move forward. And we're now rolling that out to other contractors that we use with some volume. We've introduced some additions to the way we manage antisocial behaviour so that staff in Helen's team have a more structured way of actually reporting antisocial behaviour, which means that we can report on it more effectively. We're carrying out that similar process for our works on voids end to end, and damp and mould, Bev's team are being introduced as of, it's going live on the 1st of February with Civica cases, which will help us to report damp and mould to residents who report damp and mould to us within the stated timescales, again automated, so it's not about people doing an inspection and coming back to the office, that they can do it then and there, and that will make that much easier to do. And that's just a flavour of some of the advancements that we are now putting in place. There's still work to be done. We need a CRM system, contact management system, so that if somebody contacts us, everybody will know what the contact was about. And we're also working, another item that we're seeking to introduce is the asset management database. So the results of the stock condition survey can go into the system and being updated more regularly. At the moment, we do a lot on spreadsheets, etc. That is currently being eased out as we advance with Civica.
Okay, thanks. Labour.
May I ask a question about something else,
Um,
which is to do with the government's solar panels programme?
Well, when we get to there, yeah, okay. Right, shall we move on to the state matters bit of your report then, Peter? I don't know whether, well, I do know that the members will want to say something about this. Anne, do you want to say something first about York Way?
Yes, I'm the lead member for York Way, and I attended one meeting with a group of residents who I have to say are not very happy with the quality of service and how the building work has been managed on their estate. So could you give us an update on the quality of cleaning, because that's a big issue because of the work surfaces that people are walking through and the general management of cleaning on the estate. What's the update? Because you said you're looking at options. So could you tell us what the options are, please?
Oh, sorry. The York Way development is on site, so basically people are living on a building site. Bit of background to that, and that has, I think, contributed to our ability to keep up to scratch with the cleaning. And Helen has been working with the team to put in place a plan to actually, well, not just put in place a plan, to do work that will reassure residents that we're taking their concerns into account. If I just ask Helen to update on that particular item.
Thank you, Peter. So to put that into context, we've got a contractor, a cleaning contractor, who's doing a site visit this week to look at the issues with cleaning where deep cleaning is required. They're going to put forward a schedule, which I'm going to agree with the estate services manager, and we're going to move forward first week in February with a deep cleaning programme. And we're probably going to work on that possibly on a quarterly basis, depending on how things move forward with the development and resident satisfaction following that initial effort.
Okay, thanks, Helen. Okay. Any other member got any comments on Sandra?
Thank you. I'm the lead member for Sydenham Hill, which too is a construction site with 2 new blocks of flats and I think 10 houses, and of course there's already people living there. There is huge dissatisfaction from the existing residents about what they believe is the city not taking due care in terms of their homes, noise, dirt, lack of health and safety care, and privacy, because they've got, understandably, construction workers outside their doors. They say that the road through the estate has been used to store construction materials, understandably, because there's nowhere else to put it. So the road's been more and more narrowed. And they say they phone and they get no response at all. It seems to me that when we've got a building site where people are already living, which we have to do because we've got to create more properties, I understand that, but I think the residents need a single point of contact within the estate office, so that they can give their queries to them. I mean, some of the points may be unreasonable, some of the points may be exaggerated, but I believe that there is a fundamental problem, and having a third-party communications person involved, I don't think helps at all. I think we need our own staff to liaise with residents, not somebody from a consultancy. We need the Peter's staff to own the relationship, deal with the issues, and if there's a problem, answer it. It could be that the resident is being unreasonable, but a lot of the time I think it's not that. I've walked around and there are problems. I've seen the problems, and there's huge dissatisfaction. And I think we need to do something because we're going to be doing a lot of these contracts over the near future.
Okay, thanks, Sandra. Peter, do you want-
Yeah. I think, thank you, Sandra. I think one of the issues there is that we do not have a permanent member of staff based there, which is why that we've brought in some extra resource to supplement the work we do there. With the numbers of homes coming on board now, so this is Lewisham. It's the most, I think it's most southerly of the properties we have, and so what we are going to put in place is to have somebody based there, and that will make that much easier. So Helen and I have been thinking about the staffing required for next financial year, and that's one of the priorities because of the extra number of homes that are going to be there. At the moment, they have, I think there's somebody on site once a week, 1 day a week, which is you know, probably something we should have thought of earlier, but the numbers in management didn't justify that, which was why we used a different company to help us with those comms. But it's a point, it's a very helpful point. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Peter.
Thank you.
Sandra, you want to come
I
back?
had one, yes, I think that's a very good thing to be doing, and you know, we need to think about it for other sites as they're coming on stream. There's also an issue, a health and safety issue, which I'm very concerned about, which I'm taking up offline, if that's okay, unless
Yeah, no, please do. Mark.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm a fairly recently appointed or allocated member for Lambeth, and I appreciate Peter's comments earlier. Yeah, certainly I haven't been to visit the estate yet, so I can't claim to be Tonto to Mr. Fletcher here as Lone Ranger. But would it be useful also to plug in, you mentioned being briefed on the local authority, but to plug in the local councillors for the specific ward? I'd be very keen to meet them if possible. Thank you.
Sorry, that's the intention. Yeah, thank you.
John.
Thank you. Could I echo the sentiment about consultants? I mean, consultants can be very good in certain circumstances, but I think we have to, and we can bring in consultants who have got long pedigrees with other councils or with other operators, good experience. However, I think we have to acknowledge that we are different, we are special, and our residents, and in fact, everybody who interfaces with the city, expects us to live up to a higher standard, a different standard than everybody else. So where possible, I would encourage us to use in-house staff, even if it means bringing people temporarily in-house to augment the staff for a period of time, rather than just bringing consultants, because we are different, we are special, and the people we interface with expect that from us.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, no, thank you. Okay, people happy to note this report? Yep, okay, thank you. Town Clerk.
Item 12 is questions on matters relating to the work of the subcommittee. I'm not aware of any.
Nope. Layla, sorry. Layla, yes, Layla did actually give notice that she wanted to ask for.
For the tardy notice, thank you, Chair. The government announced this big rollout of solar panels, and I was wondering whether they had given us enough detail for city officers to start looking at how we can tap into this program. Thank you.
It's a very good question. Peter.
We have a sustainability manager on the team who is funded by CAS, and she's produced a briefing which I can circulate after this meeting. I received it this morning.
Great, thank you. Okay, Town Clerk.
Thank you. Item 13 is any other business that the chairman considers urgent.
I don't think so.
Thank you. Item 14 is exclusion of the public. Does the committee agree to exclude the public for the remaining items of business?
Okay, people happy to do that? Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Please wait a short moment while I stop the live stream.